Oh, the places we'll go. Like crazy, for instance. So this video, we're going to talk about whether or not we should be buying and reselling Dr. Seuss books. So again, the controversy, I don't really want to get into that too much, although I'll say that he is a very controversial figure. I think that we've known that for a long time. If you look at his early political cartoon work, there's definitely a lot of racist stuff going on there against all kinds of people, you know, anti-Semitic things. I think there were the way that black people were portrayed, the way that Asians were portrayed, definitely a lot of pretty much any group you could take aim at. Part of that was cultural to the time because it wasn't something most people were very sensitive about. I'm not saying it was right, but saying it wasn't that uncommon in the era. And later on in Dr. Seuss's career with political cartoons and advertising and things like that, he actually did some very anti-racist work. So he definitely changed over his career, and he became what I would consider an anti-racist and did some anti-racist things. So you need to look that up, educate yourself. But did some of his books have issues, some of his children's books? I think, yes, they did. Do I think canceling them is the best option? No. On the other hand, they didn't really get canceled. It's not like people are blaming President Biden for this. They're blaming everybody under the sun for it. Honestly, it was a decision made by Dr. Seuss's company. Of course, he's dead and gone, but the Seuss Corporation, whatever, they made the decision to stop printing some of these books because of some negative stereotypes that were contained in them. I don't know that that's the best response. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. I don't know. I'm not on the board of directors, obviously, so I don't have a say, except as a consumer. But I don't really see an issue with it. It's a private company. Now, if President Biden or you know, Congress or somebody had actually banned the books, I would have an issue with that, because I believe in freedom of information, freedom of free market. I believe in freedom of the press, and I believe in not just in media and in newspapers and things like that, but freedom of printing companies to print what they want to print. So I wouldn't support that. But this is a company making a decision for themselves, so I have no issue with it, really. I don't really care either way, again. But the books that were banned were a couple that I know most of you probably have read as a child. So the first one is, let's see if I can get this to work. If I Left the Zoo, and To Think That I Saw It on Mulberry Street. Those two I read as a child. The other ones are this one, I don't remember what it was, and this one, and that one, and also that one. Anyway, is it sad to see books going out of print? I guess so. But again, it really doesn't affect me. I really don't care either way. My question that I want to answer is, should we be buying them to resell? And I think the answer is a solid no on this. My reasoning is, and this is just for me, you may have a different answer. I know a lot of people are rushing out to get them and putting all their energy into that. I don't like to chase after flash in the pan things, like I said about the potato head issue. I don't like to chase after a flash in the pan and try to make a bunch of money real quick on one thing that may or may not be over in a day. So with Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head, Hasbro reversed their decision. With Dr. Seuss, what's happening is, because it is a book that contains negative stereotypes, they are just banning the sell on eBay. So we've gotten to the point just in a couple of days where people are rushing out, buying a bunch of them, trying to sell them at high prices, which, by the way, is not sustainable. The market is just not sustainable. It doesn't make any sense, because there's millions of these printed, millions and millions and millions of these books printed. There's no reason prices should be this high except for panic. So that bubble was bound to burst in a few days anyway, but what's happened is eBay has banned these and they're taking them down. So if you have listings up, just hope that you get paid before they take your listing or your auction down, because they are starting to do that. And again, that's eBay's decision. If they want to do that, that's fine. You can sell them maybe on Mercari. I wouldn't try Facebook Marketplace, because I think the same issue is going to happen there. You know, I just don't have an issue with it. I'm not going to do it, because I don't chase after those, you know, moments, those flash pan, you know, there are opportunities to be made, obviously, to be had. There's money to be made, but is that the best use of my time? Is it sustainable? Is it something where I'm going to have a stack of Dr. Seuss, worthless, basically, Dr. Seuss books sitting where they got taken down from eBay? and I have nowhere to move them. And like I said, with millions in the market, when everyone calms down and stops losing their minds, prices are going to be back where they were, pretty much, you know, not worthless, but not worth the investment. Now, personally, as far as negative stereotypes go, I take a little different approach. I do not like to try to whitewash history, whether it's historical books, actually history books, or novels, or the work of Mark Twain or Dr. Seuss or whatever. Now, I do understand not wanting your children to read a book, especially, let's say, for example, if you had a child who is looking at a portrayal of a black character in a Dr. Seuss book, and they see a person portrayed as less than human because of their race, and you're looking at that and it is your race as a child, you might internalize that. I know how that's negative. It's obvious. It's negative. It's not a good thing. But how we've approached it is, when he was 12, we watched Aristocats, which I think he had watched Aristocats, the Disney movie, when he was little, but didn't remember it. So we watched it when he was 12, and he was shocked at the negative stereotype with which they portrayed the Siamese cat. So the Siamese cat was the Asian one, and he literally plays piano with chopsticks and has little slits for eyes and giant buck teeth, and you know, these stereotypes they're negative. They are negative. They have a negative impact. But what we did was we watched it and we talked about it. So Disney actually has a caveat at the beginning of, we watched it on Disney Plus this time, and there's a caveat at the beginning of the movie saying there are negative stereotypes in this movie. We chose not to remove it from our platforms, but to actually have it there, leave it in, and give you an opportunity to discuss it with your family. So that was actually really positive for us, and we ended up discussing it, why it's wrong, and I think it was a good thing for Disney to leave it. I think, again, this responsibility falls on parents, but that's not to say there's no corporate responsibility. To Disney, the corporate responsibility was, we're going to put a caveat and make sure families know where we stand. For Dr. Seuss's company, it was, we're going to stop printing these 6 books. Neither one is wrong for a private corporation. They have that right. They have the right to, or I guess Disney's publicly traded, but you have the right to make those decisions as a corporation. That's fine. And you have the right as a seller to try to make some money and hustle and make some money on these really quickly. But I think the window's closed on that. This is one particular example, but there's many others, and that's just why I don't go that route. I don't want to get too much of my focus on that one thing that's going to be done in a couple days and probably get banned from the platform. So anyway, do what you want with your money. But for me, no Dr. Seuss books. Now, we do own Dr. Seuss books. I don't have anything against Dr. Seuss. I think he was a pretty terrible person at points in his life. I think he, as far as the racism goes, I think he changed that at the end of his life. And I'm glad he did, but it still reflects in some of his books. But I say use that as an opportunity to teach your children and talk about how things have changed, how society's changed for the better in that regard. Let them learn from it instead of just trying to avoid and pretend it didn't happen. Anyway, that's all I have to say on the topic. We'll see what gets canceled next week, and maybe we'll have another episode of Sell the Outrage. Who's Your Hustle out?